The visit by the Minister for Europe coincided with the publication of the FAC's report and focused on the same issues, in particular the lengthy border queues and the frequent incursions at sea. During a press conference at the airport ahead of his departure, David Lidington said his government remains absolutely and unequivocally committed to the assertion of British sovereignty over Gibraltar.
Well, the last thing the present UK government has been doing is sitting on the fence. We have taken an absolutely resolute stand on sovereignty, unlike our predecessors in office, and made it clear that there's going to be no discussions about sovereignty with Spain unless, for some reason, Gibraltar itself approved of that happening. We'll obviously take into account very carefully of the detail of what the Select Committee is recommending, and we will publish a detailed response to that in due course. We continue to fight very hard at European level against things like Spain pushing back on the Cordoba Agreement. And at the moment, for example, we are taking a very tough stand in resisting Spanish efforts to exclude Gibraltar Airport from a number of European aviation directives, because that is a clear breach of the rights of Gibraltar citizens under European treaties.
The FAC report is also critical of the system of formal protests, suggesting they're likening them to a slap on the wrist. Is a sentiment echoed by many here? Is there more the FCO could do?
Formal protests are important because they are the way in which you assert sovereignty when that sovereignty is infringed. And it's important we do that because that guards the integrity of our position in law. If we were to disregard Spanish incursions, not to have a protest, then that would give a bit more weight to Spain's arguments that that our sovereignty did not in fact exist. So those protests are important. I gave instructions to my officials earlier this year that I found that a number of protests had been going in late. There were about quite serious infringements, that this needed a higher priority. We are now turning around protests against serious incursions, making those protests within 48 hours on a whole, which is well within the 7-day period the committee recommends.
Is there more that can be done apart from protests? I mean, the report also suggested that the number of times the Spanish ambassador has been summoned has been quite disproportionate.
Well, we always in Britain treat the formal summons of any ambassador as an extremely unusual and serious step. I mean, this is not something that is routine, and it ceases to have much force if it becomes simply a routine measure. But we keep under review all the time ideas about other action, for example, taking legal action on behalf of the United Kingdom against Spain because of the abuse by them of border checks at the moment. And, you know, we will always try to act in a way that is obviously lawful, but also is best designed to try to deliver the best possible outcome for Gibraltar, because what we do not want is to take steps that lead to the situation of people in Gibraltar becoming worse. And I fully understand the anger, the frustration in Gibraltar at the utterly unreasonable way in which Spain, the government, the border authorities, the Guardia Civil have been behaving. It's a blatant infringement of international and European law. And we have all times to assert our sovereignty over Gibraltar, to be true to the wish of the Gibraltar people, to remain under British sovereignty, and that's what we will continue to do.
Accompanied by the Governor and the Chief Minister, David Lidington met with and spoke to members of the public during a walk down Main Street today, culminating in a stop at the Royal Gibraltar Regiment headquarters. Previously, he also met with the Cross Frontier Group, who asked him to put additional pressure on the European Commission and on Spain to do away with what it called excessive and disproportionate frontier checks, affecting both citizens and businesses.
It was a quite positive meeting, although we had to repeat ourselves, you know, all over again in highlighting the concerns we have due to the controls carried out by the Spanish authorities in the borders. Obviously, we highlighted to him that we were aware that controls have to be carried out, but obviously we were complaining against the mechanism, the methodology used, by using a two-filter system, even 3 at times, and humiliating 12,000 EU users, on a daily basis. The way it's affecting Gibraltar and La Linea, of course, and these are things that we expected him and his government to do something firm about it, and take a stronger stance.
David Lidington visited the Royal Navy squadron as well, speaking to officers while out on HMS Sabre. He also discussed policing with the Royal Gibraltar Police aboard the Sir William Jackson, as well as speaking to members of various government departments regarding the port, the environment, bunkering and technical services. Yesterday evening, Mr. Lidington also visited the new customs facilities installed at the frontier, ahead of tomorrow's visit by a European Commission delegation.
I'm very impressed by what the Gibraltar government has done to take rapid action to implement what the European Commission recommended. It's a great pity we haven't seen the same sense of priority given by the Spanish authorities to implementing what they're supposed to do, and I hope the Commission will notice that when they visit tomorrow. It's clearly been outrageous what has been happening in terms of disproportionate and politically motivated checks carried out by the Spanish. Everybody knows that they're entitled to carry out reasonable checks to guard against smuggling and other cross-border crime, but I've been hearing from people who've described to me children having their school satchels searched, cyclists wearing tight-fitting lycra outfits being questioned about whether they were carrying cigarettes. I mean, that is clearly an abuse of proper procedure, and it's really about time that the Spanish woke up to the fact that they're ignoring people's basic human rights and their rights as European citizens.
David Lidington said the UK continues to look for every opportunity to bring pressure to bear on Spain to secure the right outcome for Gibraltar, adding that the option of taking legal action remained under constant review. However, he described the EU Commission as the guardian of European citizens' rights, saying he believes the chance of a swift and satisfactory outcome is greater if it comes in the form of effective action from the Commission.
And satisfactory outcome to the outrageous behaviour of the Spanish authorities at the border.